Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my 9.9 Armour review. So I'm just having a look at the tanks that had significant armour changes in 9.9 and then just reviewing them. You're looking right now at Tank Inspector, and on the right hand side of your screen is the 9.8 T110 E4, and on the left hand side of your screen is the 9.9 T110 E4, and the 9.8 version on the right is actually a recording. So I'll start playing that now and I'll go through it with you as we analyse the armour together. So you can see here, I'll just pause it there. The lower plate on the T110 E4 was 114mm thick, but currently it's now 120mm thick. So we've got an extra 6mm on the lower plate. However, on the right you can see the beak, the red section here at the front on the right hand side. The beak of the tank was larger than it is before, and this lower section here is now 150mm, which is down from the red. The red is pretty huge, as we'll see if I continue the recording on the right. I'll move into the red area any second now. There I am. So you can see the red area there is coming up as 254mm. Now, the red area on here is now actually slightly thicker at 260mm, but it doesn't extend as low as it did before. So this is a potential weakness in the frontal armour now. Even though the lower part of a plate is now stronger, it's about 6mm thicker, this part here just below the beak is thinner at 150mm. So it's not a bad chance to penetrate, but it's still difficult, and the chance of you actually missing a little bit and hitting the beak is still fairly significant. Now above the plate, so the other plate probably used to cover in here, but now we have a section which is 210mm thick. Very well sloped, so still very hard to penetrate. So that's all good from T110 E4 driver's point of view. In a minute we'll have a look at the upper plate, which you can see here. The upper plate was 140mm thick, and that's now increased to 180mm thick. So up from 140 to 180, which is a substantial increase. So the upper plate of the T110 E4 has been substantially buffed. And you can also see these small sections here near the tracks are also 180, and the way that they're accessed from the front makes that section a little bit tougher now, especially when shooting through the tracks into the front side of the tank there. It's a little bit stronger there now as well. So let's continue the recording on the right here, and I think I'm going to move up and have a look at the turret ring. There you go, there's the turret ring. It's coming up at 152mm, and you'll notice when you look on the left that the mantlet on the new T110 E4 is lower than it is on the old one, and you'll notice that more as well when I show you a bit later on. But well, actually I'll show you right now. You can see here that the new mantlet exposes this area here, which it didn't on the earlier version. So they have moved the actual whole mantlet down, and it now covers the turret ring. So the turret ring is a very difficult target to hit from the front now. Whereas here we've got it was 152mm, so if you're in the center there you had a chance, and albeit it's small, if you were butted up against the tank you had a chance to shoot it. Now you can't. Now you've got to go through this spaced armour on the mantlet here, and it's coming up as 203mm overlaying 76mm underneath. So the turret ring is actually thinner at 76mm instead of 152, but the mantlet now overlays it because it's been lowered. You can still access it here, but frontally it's a ricochet. So that's basically another buff to the tank. So we'll continue on with the recording on the right now, and this section here of the tank at 203mm is pretty much exactly the same as it always was. So we'll continue the recording, and now that purple section here, you can see we've got 203mm overlaying the 152, which is pretty much I was going to say is as it was, but now it's 203mm overlaying 203mm, so that is actually tougher than it was before. Might just be where I stopped it perhaps. And the main mantlet is now 254mm, and I've probably just put it in a lucky spot, have I? Oh no, well I've got on the left I've got 254 overlaying 152, but that does drop off. It looks like maybe the armour extends a little further in now. It's dropped off now on the left hand side, and it's dropped off here. So it's just the 254mm for most of the mantlet. I'll continue the recording. Not much difference really there. I'll try and keep my cursor in a similar spot to the recording so you can kind of compare it if you're doing it. It's very hard for me to look at it while I'm doing it, of course. Now, I know what you're thinking. This red section here is now not covered by the mantlet where it was before, but don't worry, the red section is actually a whopping 300 mils thick, so no one's going to be penning that in a hurry anyway. Now, we've stopped on the cupola there. It's pretty much, as far as I can tell, exactly the same as it was before at 152 millimeters. Unfortunately, for E4 drivers, the cupola is no change. Now, looking at the side of the tank here, we can see that the tracks have had a little bit of work, and they now don't cover as much of the tank as they did before. So we've got these sort of sections here, which are now exposed and are not protected by the tracks. So HE splashing should be a bit more, and some light tanks can probably shoot you in the side more easily than they could before. Other than that, though, the side armour is pretty much identical, except that you can see here the frontal armour, the upper plate now extends further back along the front. This means that if you are poking the front of your tank out from a ridge, you've actually got 180 millimeters of armour there, whereas on the previous model, if we can get up to that armour there, it's actually only 76 mils. So this 160 mil here extends further back than it did before. So once again, we could probably call that a buff, I think. Other than that, the armour values here are pretty much exactly the same as they were before. The side of the turret is also exactly the same. Now, as far as the side of the cupola goes, it was 76 millimeters, and now it is 76 millimeters, exactly the same. Sorry, it's the back and the top of that cupola that has actually changed a little bit, I think. The lower back is the same, basically, and the back is the same as far as I can tell. However, the back of the cupola there, I went a little bit too far ahead there. Let me try and go back a bit. There it is. It's coming up here as 51 millimeters, whereas on here now, it is actually 76 millimeters. So they have actually strengthened the back of this machine gun cupola thingy here, although it does appear to me to be a little bit higher, although it is more sloped as well. I'll continue that on. So yeah, the top deck seems to be the same. The top of the cupola is now the same as the frontal panel here at 76 mils, so that's also strengthened, and the rest top of the actual turret is the same as it used to be. Alright, I hope that helps you. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more Armour reviews for 9.9 or tank reviews, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.